You think betrayal happens in the shadows? No. Sometimes it happens under the brightest lights, in the very place built on trust, a company that carries my family's name. I was there. I saw it all with my own eyes. And the cruelest part? He didn't just cheat on his wife, he cheated on the company. My father's company, the empire I was born into. And while everyone whispered rumors, I kept my silence, waiting for the day I would tear his mask off. Because what I discovered wasn't just infidelity, it was a double affair, one that would shake Philadelphia's corporate world to its core. Philadelphia is always cold in the morning, especially in the fall. The city streets are filled with the aroma of coffee, the sound of horns, and people rushing into tall buildings. From outside, the Reynolds Corporation Tower looms majestically, 45 stories of blue glass, a symbol of the strength of our family business. But that morning, I wasn't Sophia Reynolds, the CEO's daughter. I was just a new employee in the HR department, with a simple black blazer and an ID card that read, Sophia R., without a last name that would attract attention. I chose to go undercover not for fun, but for a mission. My father always said, if you want to understand the company, never sit in the highest chair first. Sit in the lowest chair, listen, and see what others dare not tell you. My days began like any other employee. Fingerprint scanners in the lobby, greeting security guards, riding elevators with employees who didn't know who I really was. I heard it all. Whispers, complaints, laughter, and amidst all the conversations, one name always came up: Michael Turner. Michael was a legend in the company, a charismatic vice president wearing expensive suits, a signature perfume that could be smelled even from the hallway. For him, the office was a stage, and everyone was an audience. He was married, had children, but word was he had a dirty secret. Gossip claimed he was too close to his assistant, Chloe. Some said they were just working overtime, but others whispered there was more to it. I first met Chloe in the pantry. She was beautiful, stylish, her heels clicking on the marble floor. Her smile was sweet, but her eyes were calculating. She wasn't just an assistant, she was ambitious. From the way she looked at Michael, I knew the gossip wasn't just empty rumors. She was good at pretending. In front of the other employees, she looked like a diligent worker. But I'd seen the look in her eyes change as soon as Michael walked by. Sharp, possessive. That day, I was at the HR desk, organizing recruitment paperwork. From my 15th floor window, I looked out over Philadelphia. Buildings, the Schuylkill River, and busy highways. But my thoughts were distracted by the whispers of two staff members nearby. They say Mr. Michael didn't come home last night. Seriously? With whom? Well, who else but Chloe? Everyone knows. I lowered my head, pretending to be busy, but my ears caught every word. I knew this rumor was dangerous. If true, it wouldn't just be a moral issue, it could tarnish the company's reputation. In the afternoon, I took the elevator and accidentally stood behind Michael and Chloe. They didn't notice me. Their voices were quiet but clear enough. Michael, just book a regular suite, use the company account, and I'll handle it. Chloe, what if someone finds out? Michael chuckles, no one would dare question me here. My heart was pounding. It wasn't just gossip anymore. That was the first piece of evidence, the misuse of company resources to cover up an affair. A few days later, I began to notice a pattern. The company car often disappeared in the parking lot at night. Michael's expense report listed dinner meeting, even though I knew it was at a famous fine dining restaurant in Rittenhouse Square. Chloe came home late, her face beaming as if she'd just returned from a personal vacation. I started taking notes. No one knew I had a small camera and a flash drive for documents in my bag. I recorded, photographed, collected. But the real conflict wasn't just about the evidence. The conflict lay within myself. Should I expose it now and risk everyone knowing who I really was? Or wait for the right moment, bearing the burden of witnessing all this alone? Every time I saw Michael swaggering down the office hallway, I wanted to scream, "I know who you really are." But I held back, because games like this take time. One night, I came home late. The office floor was nearly empty. In the distance, I heard the door to the VP's office open. I hid behind the partition. I saw Chloe come out first, her hair a bit messy. A few seconds later, Michael followed, his tie loose and a smug look on his face. They chuckled, as if the office wasn't a workspace, but a secret playground. I raised my phone and snapped a quick photo. Click. The slight sound of the camera shutter made me panic. Chloe glanced briefly down the hallway. My heart nearly stopped. I ducked quickly, pretending to search for files on an empty desk. Luckily, they didn't notice. That night, I went home with trembling hands, but deep inside, I had one conviction. I couldn't keep quiet. In the following days, the evidence piled up. I had emails, photos, travel notes, recordings of obscure conversations. I kept each file neatly tucked away in an encrypted folder. But the more I investigated, the more dangerous the situation became. Chloe grew suspicious. She eyed me differently, like a cat smelling a dog. Once, she approached my desk, pretending to ask for files, but his eyes scanned my desk and bag. I had to be more careful. And in that moment, I realized this game was no longer about personal affairs. It was about the company's honor, its family name, and the truth that had to be revealed to everyone. I may be just another employee in their eyes, a worthless HR girl, but one thing they don't know, the blood of a CEO flows in my veins. And when the time comes, I will stand in this company's biggest boardroom carrying a truth that will destroy them. Are they ready? No, but I am. Philadelphia is a city that never sleeps. Streetlights lit up like shooting stars on wet asphalt, restaurants filled with laughter, luxury hotels became havens for whispered secrets. Amidst it all, I walked alone, carrying a burden heavier than anyone else. A secret that could destroy a vice president, and perhaps destroy me too. That night, I followed my instincts. Michael and Chloe said they were having a business dinner with clients, but I knew it was a lie. I walked down Walnut Street, where a row of luxury restaurants lined the streets. I saw them enter the Bellevue Hotel, Philadelphia's most prestigious hotel. I entered a few minutes later, disguised as a regular guest. The lobby was full of crystal chandeliers, the marble floors reflecting the shadows of people in suits. And there, I saw them. Michael put his hand on Chloe's back, guiding her to a corner table. They laughed softly, too intimately for mere colleagues. I sat at another table, far enough away but still within sight. From my bag, I took my phone and cautiously activated the camera. Click. Click. Each photo was like a puzzle piece of their lie. But then, the waiter approached their table. I faintly heard the conversation. "Michael, just order whatever you want. Use the company account. All charges will be covered as business expenses." "Chloe, are you sure?" "Michael, who would dare refuse? I'm the vice president here." My hands were shaking. It wasn't just an affair. It was theft. Theft from my family's company. A few weeks later, a new rumor emerged. Michael and Chloe were leaving for New York for a client meeting. I knew I had to go, even though it wasn't my job. Using the excuse of HR observation, I managed to get permission to accompany them on the trip. At Philadelphia's 30th Street station, I saw Michael and Chloe standing too close. As the train departed, I pretended to read documents, but my eyes occasionally glanced up. They were whispering, laughing, their hands touching under the small train table. At the New York hotel, I had a room to myself, but that night, as I went out to get water, I saw Chloe knock on Michael's door. She entered without hesitation. I stood frozen in the hallway, my heart pounding. I wanted to open the door and scream, but I wasn't stupid. I needed proof, not just anger. I took out my phone and took a quick video, Chloe entering, the door closing. That was enough. Upon returning to Philadelphia, I began to feel trapped in a dangerous game. Chloe grew increasingly suspicious. She often glanced at me in the office as if trying to read my mind. Michael grew increasingly arrogant, walking down the hall with a sly smile as if the world were at his fingertips. The gossip intensified. Some HR employees even dared to say openly, "I'm sure Chloe is more than just an assistant. She's almost the second lady of the company." I clutched the evidence files in my bag tightly. If I let my guard down for the slightest second, everything could be lost. One night, I followed them again, this time to an exclusive lounge in Rittenhouse Square. Jazz music played softly, the lights dimmed. Michael and Chloe sat on a leather couch, too close, too intimate. I took another photo, but this time, click, the shutter sound was too loud. Chloe immediately turned her head. Her eyes scanned the room, sharpening. I ducked quickly, pretending to fiddle with my phone. My heart felt like it was going to jump out of my chest. Chloe stood up and walked slowly toward me. "Chloe, right? From HR." I turned with a fake smile. "Oh, hi. I ran into you guys by chance. Just waiting for a friend." Chloe stared at me for a long moment, her smile thin but full of menace. "Be careful. In a place like this, people tend to misunderstand." She turned back to Michael, but I knew, ever since that night, I'd been on Chloe's radar. Every night, I'd go home to my small apartment in Center City, staring at the evidence folder on my laptop. Photos, videos, documents. It was all there. But I also felt alone. I had no one to share. Even my father didn't know who I was at work. Sometimes I asked myself, had I gone too far? What if they found out I was actually the CEO's daughter? Was I ready to weather the storm? On one hand, I wanted to scream, to reveal everything now. On the other, I knew the time wasn't right. I needed a moment that would destroy them in front of everyone. Michael was getting more reckless. He started bringing Chloe into small meetings, treating her like an official representative. Some of the directors were getting restless, but no one dared to object. In the meeting room, I sat in the corner watching. Michael presented a proposal, while Chloe sat beside him, taking notes as if she were an official partner. I took notes one by one, because I knew, soon all eyes would see them in their true colors. Every piece of evidence I gather is a nail in their coffin. But the more I know, the more dangerous my life in this office becomes. Chloe already smells something. Michael feels untouchable. And me? I'm standing in the eye of the storm, with a secret that could destroy everything. They think I'm just another HR person. But when the truth explodes, Philadelphia will remember Sophia Reynolds forever. Every secret has an expiration date, and that day had finally come. I was no longer just another HR person. I was the CEO's daughter, heir to the Reynolds name, and I carried a truth that would light a fire in the most powerful boardroom in Philadelphia. Philadelphia, a cold morning. The air was thick with fog, the buildings looming like silent sentries. But that morning felt different. I sat at my desk, staring at the folder containing all the evidence. Photos, videos, emails, memos. Every file was a bullet, and I was ready to pull the trigger. That day was scheduled for the annual board meeting. All the executives would be in attendance, including my father. I knew this was the final straw. In front of the office restroom mirror, I stared at myself. No longer just another HR girl. My hair was neatly tied back, a dark blazer and a crisp white shirt. I stared at my reflection and whispered, "Today, you will stop hiding." Before the meeting, I saw Michael in the hallway. His suit was impeccable, his smile cocky, Chloe's hand hanging on his arm. They walked like the king and queen of the company. "Michael, today I have a big presentation. After this, the deputy CEO position will probably be mine." Chloe, smiling. "And me? You won't forget who's got your back, will you?" Michael, whispering, but I hear. "You know your place. Always by my side." I wanted to throw up when I heard that. They weren't even being secretive anymore. The 40th floor conference room was the heart of the company. Long mahogany tables, black leather chairs, large windows overlooking Philadelphia. The board of directors was already seated. My father was in the main chair, his stern face staring everyone down. Michael sat nearby, Chloe beside him with a fake professional smile. I sat in the back seat where a regular HR staff member would be. But in my bag, I had a truth that would shake this room. It was my turn to speak. As HR, my job was supposed to be to give a brief report on new hires and training. I stood slowly, all eyes turned, seemingly indifferent. I walked to the front of the room and opened my folder. A voice in my head said, "It's now or never." I stared at the screen and said in a calm but sharp voice, "Before we talk about the future of the company, there's something you should see, something that's been hidden." The room fell silent. Michael turned to me, his face tense. Chloe gripped his hand under the table. I pressed the remote control. The slide changed. A photo of Michael and Chloe at the Bellevue Hotel, his arm around Chloe's waist. A rustling sound echoed throughout the room. The directors began whispering, their expressions a mix of shock and anger. I continued. The audio recording. "Michael, use the company account. I'll handle it." Michael's own voice echoed through the conference room. He stood stiffly, his face pale. Chloe tried to smile, but her hands were shaking. Next slide. Business trip notes, train tickets to New York, hotel bills, all in the company's name, but in fact, they were shared by two people. I looked at each of the directors' faces. They fell silent, then began to speak loudly. Director A, "This is misuse of company funds." Director B, "We could be sued if the media finds out about this." My father stared at me sharply, as if this was the first time he'd really seen me. Michael tried to resist. "Michael, this is irrelevant. She's just an HR person looking for attention. She has no authority." I smiled faintly, then said loudly, "Oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Sophia Reynolds, Richard Reynolds' daughter, the daughter of this company's CEO." Shock swept across the room. All the directors were stunned. Chloe's jaw dropped, her face pale. Michael took a step back, his eyes wide in disbelief. My father stared at me, this time with a mixture of shock and pride. Michael tried to defend himself. "Michael, this is slander. She's just trying to ruin my career. You can't trust a young girl who knows nothing about business." I stepped forward, staring him coldly in the eyes. "You're right. I may be young, but I know the difference between hard work and theft. And what you did wasn't just an affair. You stole from the company, from the Reynolds family, from everyone in this room." The board began to applaud softly, encouraging me. My father finally spoke. His voice was deep and firm. "Michael Turner, you are fired. Effective immediately. Chloe, you are no longer a part of this company. You two have brought shame on the Reynolds Corporation." Michael tried to defend himself, but every voice in the room was against him. Chloe lowered her head, tears falling, that I knew it wasn't regret, just fear of losing everything. The security guard entered, escorting them out. Michael turned to me once more, his gaze full of hatred, but I stared back unwaveringly. The room returned to silence. All eyes were on me. For the first time, they saw me not just as an HR person, but as Sophia Reynolds. One of the directors said, "You've saved the company, Sophia. Thank you." My father leaned in, putting his hand on my shoulder. "I'm proud of you. You've proven yourself not only as my daughter, but as a true leader." My tears threatened to fall, but I held them back. I knew this was just the beginning. They thought I was just a staff member. They were wrong. I was a witness, a hunter, and an heir. That day, the truth not only destroyed the careers of two greedy men, it also paved the way for me, the path to leadership. Because in the city of Philadelphia, behind the glass buildings and the lights, there was one lesson I would never forget. Power can blind people, but the truth will always open their eyes. So ask yourself, how far is a man willing to sell his honor for lust and ambition? Because I have seen the answer, and I assure you, the world will see it too.